At the start of December last year, I decided to secretly embark on a journey to retire my mom with an indie game. Little did I know, this would prove to be both far more challenging, and yet also far more encouraging than I ever could have imagined. There have been many setbacks along the way, but I've also made so much progress, and been so lucky to have been able to put as much time and effort into this as I have. So I'm here to tell you about the journey, why my goal of retiring my mom is so important to me, the process of how I'm thinking through the kind of game I actually want to make, and what I've built so far. This all started when I was on the phone with my mom a while back. I live on the other side of the country right now, so we FaceTime lots. About 5 years ago, she started her own business to help support the family. This was great for a while, but because she's the one that has to make sure the business keeps running, she's ended up having to work nearly every day since, far more than she would have to if it was just a normal job. We were talking about this, and she was telling me how much she misses being a stay-at-home mom with my little siblings. It eventually got to the point where, basically every time we talk, she ends up saying something about how she hates that the kids aren't eating as well because she isn't there to cook for them, or how she would sell the business if she could, just so she could come back home. I was so blessed that she was home with me the whole time I was a kid, but my siblings haven't gotten that luxury since they were babies. My mom and I are really close, and I'm a very ambitious person, so we talk about our dreams all the time. Her dream is so simple, yet so lovely. She just wants to stay home, get herself a little wood-fired oven, and always just have something simmering on the stovetop so that it smells like mom's house when you walk in the door. I've been so focused on my own goals for so long, and honestly, it hasn't really gotten me any closer to them, because at the end of the day, being motivated by self-interest can only take you so far. So I finally decided that I was going to do everything I could to make her dream a reality first, because my dreams wouldn't even be possible if it weren't for her. And that led to the idea of making a game to do it. I've been making games just as a hobby for about 8 years now. It's always been a passion of mine since I was young. I kept seeing all these hugely successful games being released by small or solo teams, and I always thought, man, I could have made that. Why didn't I? So with this newfound motivation and reason beyond myself to actually do it, I started this game, taking game development seriously for the first time. But to make a goal like this possible, I need to make a great game, which means I need a great idea. Right now, I've got a rough idea for what I want this game to be, but a huge problem, especially for someone like myself since I'm developing this game alone, is that most ideas are just far too ambitious to be made with no budget by one person. Being a solo dev doesn't mean I can't make a great game, but it does mean that I have to be careful about how big I try to make my game. But I figure if I can take small-scale versions of my favorite features in the games I play, I might actually be able to make something that is not only a game I would really love to play, and therefore something that hopefully other people like me would also love to play, but importantly, I'll have a concept that is technically feasible, that I can develop within a year rather than investing 3 or 5 years into something with an unclear outcome. At least if I do it this way, and the worst case scenario happens where my game just completely flops, I can always try again, and I won't have lost a ton of years to a failed game. That's the whole philosophy here, and why I've named my studio One More Try. As much as I'd absolutely love for this game to be the one that actually retires my mom, it may not be. So I need to have a project that doesn't take years to make, so that I can try again if it fails. So with this in mind, I decided to broadly go with a roguelite game, which is a genre that allows for a lot of replayability, without requiring as much work to create new content to have a game that you can spend a lot of time playing. Because the random sandbox nature of them creates a ton of content naturally. But this does come with some risk, because this genre is very popular right now, so if I just follow the basic roguelite formula, I'll end up with a game that is just like the best games in the genre, except way worse. So there'll be no reason for anyone to play it. What I need is something unique, something a little more niche, that will allow me to stand apart from the crowd even if it does mean I am ultimately catering to a slightly smaller audience. This is a hard thing to do, and by no means do I think I have arrived at the final concept, but here's how I'm thinking through this right now. Some of the games I have the most playtime in are games that blend genres. For example, Total War takes 2 of my all-time favorites, Bannerlord and Sid Meier's Civilization, and blends them into one spectacular game. So I need something that blends elements of my favorite genres and places those pieces within the roguelite scope, so that it's actually possible for me to make it. So enough rambling. In one sentence, what the heck is my idea? They are billions, but you are the undead. Ta-da! This will probably change, but I'm pretty set on the combination of mechanics that would make something like this possible. The overall theme will definitely evolve over time, but this does fit with the gameplay I want to build, so it's what I'm working with for right now. This game is at its core a base builder/defender akin to They Are Billions, but with Path of Exiles 2/Diablo-style combat, allowing you to alternate between strategy and direct participation in the fighting. Meta progression is something I want to focus heavily on, and I want to do it mainly through allowing you to create characters that you care about. Sacrificing the loot you gain will allow you to summon these heroes that are key to your long-term survival. These heroes will all be unique and randomly generated. Their deaths will be permanent to make it meaningful, but they are able to be brought between runs if you can manage to keep them alive. The goal is to grow your settlement, raising armies and defenses against ever more challenging waves of enemies that attack you every night, while making difficult decisions around choosing to risk your heroes dying to gain better rewards and level them up, or to keep them from battle, ensuring they remain alive for future playthroughs. I'm not sure this sounds as good on paper as it does in my head, but I'm rolling with it for now. So what do I actually have so far? In short, a spectacularly ugly, unfinished prototype that is about 50% of the way to where it needs to be in order to start playtesting. So overall, it may not look cool, but that doesn't mean I haven't built some cool stuff. So far, I've got the basic movement figured out. You can either click to move or aim and strafe, which will allow for that Path of Exile style of combat. I've got the ability to switch between controlling your character and going into the RTS mode, where I've got a lot of the base builder elements complete. You can build resource production buildings, defenses, train your army, and command your squads to move around the map. And I've got a level generator that generates a random terrain every time you load in. It is ugly for good reason, though. I am following the make it exist first, make it great after design philosophy here. I'm primarily a programmer, which is another way of saying I'm terrible at art. But with this approach, I can spend my time refining the systems and building out the architecture for my game, rather than spending a ton of time on visuals and effects for mechanics that may just end up getting cut out or entirely reworked in the future anyways. This lets me build much more quickly, because the main goal right now is to get a playable prototype as fast as possible, so that I can start refining the core gameplay loop and make sure it's fun, satisfying, and engaging before I move forward. Only then will I go back and start to rework all the visual elements, adding in cohesive art, sound effects, music, and all the other little things that make a game feel good to interact with. All of my systems are built so that I can go in later and add as much content as I like without having to rewrite any new code. For example, the building system is built on Unity's scriptable object system. So when the time comes, all I have to do to add a new building into the game is create a new building asset in the editor, fill in all these variable fields, and include the art, and it will instantly work within the system without me having to touch any code at all. A ton of my architecture is built in the same way. The enemies are like this, the item system, all the friendly units, even the animations that all the characters use. This way, instead of spending countless hours adding in content to a game that isn't even refined or fun yet, I'm just building all the foundations so that I can go in and add lots of content once the game feels good and is ready for that. This whole ride has been full of ups and downs, but I'm not going to give up on this goal. I'm going to keep making games until I retire my mom and get to smell whatever she's got simmering on that wood stove, whether that takes me 1 game or 10. I don't even have a name for this game yet, and there's still no Steam page, unfortunately. But if you want to help me on this journey, please consider hitting all the various buttons that are available to you for algorithm purposes, and I'd really love for you to join our community Discord in my bio, where your ideas and feedback will help shape this game into the best version of itself that it can be, and where I'll be hosting playtests in the future to make sure this game is actually fun. I can't thank you all enough for the support you've shown me so far. It's honestly been surreal and has kept me pushing forward. So to every single one of you that's left a comment, sent me a message, or just started following along to help me on this journey, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It's all made my goal feel possible, and that means the world to me.